Should we ban billionaires?
You said in the book that there should be no billionaires.
Yes.
No one should be a billionaire.
Yes.
That people like AOC and others say billionaires should not exist.
So I predict AOC will be president.
How would we get to a world of no billionaires?
If you had a tax structure that was fair, they would not be billionaires.
Where do you put the cap?
Is this really about billionaires,
By then, they'll probably have like a federal wealth tax.
or is there a different number?
Well, I just said first thought they should not be billionaires.
500 million or 200 million?
I'm not writing tax reform here.
Of course, Bernie's writing tax reform,
AOC would be my front runner.
and his tax reform ideas would ban billionaires. And apparently would ban 500 millionaires and 200 millionaires, and we don't know how low he goes.
Let me tell you what leftism is. Just people trying to string together words to justify taking your money.
There's an underlying question here. What happens in a world where you ban billionaires or you ban 100 millionaires? So what happens in this world? This is a thing that they won't talk about, right? They have this fantasy that everything is perfect, but everything is not perfect. They just have these simple words like, this is what Sachs was saying. They just put together words to justify taking your money. No, he has ideas. He won't tell us what the full ideas are. Hello, Craig. Hello, 14.4. So this is the vision, right? The vision is, let's put words together to get people to vote for us, to give us power. But if you think about the words, we want to ban billionaires. Look at what they say. Billionaires should not exist. A state producing billionaires has failed. The size of failures in proportion to how many billionaires have been created. Then, of course, you have a trillionaire, so that must be hugely awful. And then you have AOC. AOC says a system that allows billionaires to exist alongside extreme poverty is immoral. Well, what's extreme poverty? Is there extreme poverty in America? Is she referring to extreme poverty somewhere else? I'm not aware of any significant extreme poverty anywhere. Look, I'm in Thailand. Okay, I'm in Thailand. I've been in poor countries, right? I know what extreme poverty is. I've been in India. I've seen extreme poverty. It does not exist in the United States. There's this fantasy that America has some extreme poverty. There's poor people, right? But the poor people in America are overweight. By and large, the poverty problems in America are they're overweight. They have diabetes. They have heart disease. You know, they smoke too many cigarettes. Like, that's the problems of poverty. The problems of poverty in really poor places, really extreme poverty, is completely different. But this, again, what's the point? What's the claim? A system that allows billionaires to exist alongside extreme poverty is immoral. So I want to pose this question. What happens if you ban billionaires? What these people want to do? What happens if you create a tax code? Bernie's solution, they're very careful to not really tell you what their solution is, but Bernie's solution is some kind of tax reform. So here's what I want to pose to you. Yes, business innovation stops. That's part of it. Here's what I want to pose to you. Elon starts Zip2 with Kimball back 1990s, I think it was. They start Zip2, they succeed, and they cash out and they get, I don't know, several million, 10 million, $20 million, something like that. I forget the exact number. Now, are they already over the limit? Is Elon already, if Elon has over 10 million, where's Bernie's line? Is the line 10 million and is Elon already over it? Because if that's it, like, keep in mind, by the way, for the people who say that Elon didn't do anything, online mapping partly exists because Elon developed it at Zip2. Some of the features of online mapping comes from what Elon's work. He's not the only one. There's other people doing it. It probably would have happened anyway. But then he throws his money into PayPal. He throws his time and his effort into PayPal, and he cashes out at 180 million, right? So now PayPal gave us online payments. I've been using online payments. I built my law firm success on online payments. Yeah, we can get to Taylor Smith Twist. But I just want to hit on this point about, let's talk about entrepreneurs first. You have this issue with celebrities and athletes too. Like Michael Jordan's a billionaire. LeBron is probably a billionaire. There's, Taylor Swift is a billionaire singer. I don't know. Mick Jagger might be a billionaire. Ice-T, I don't know. There's several, but ultimately you have entrepreneurship. Like even the most successful athletes or entertainers, to some extent, the billion comes from some entrepreneurship that they did along with their celebrity, right? So now put yourself in Elon's shoes. You got $180 million and you got a choice. You can invest as he did. You have other choices, right? But he could invest as he did in SpaceX and Tesla. He went all in, right? To build two companies, right? To deliver electric vehicles to deliver sustainable transportation to the world, and he succeeded largely. Not only did Tesla succeed, but it inspired the Chinese EV makers, and the legacy automakers largely failed, but the Chinese EV makers have come along, and nobody else has really succeeded. But I'm in Thailand, and there's Chinese EVs everywhere, and there's Teslas. There's a lot of Teslas too here in Thailand, and they're all over China, and there's some parts of the world where there's a lot of EVs. So that transition is happening, and that transition is happening because of Elon. Period. Full stop. Wouldn't be happening if Elon hadn't driven Tesla to success, for BYD to emulate, for the Chinese EV makers to emulate. We wouldn't have EVs in any significant way. SpaceX. If you had a cap, let's say the $200 billion cap that was mentioned, and Bernie wouldn't say no, right? We know that their number might be 50 million, their number might be 10 million. We don't know what their number actually is. They'll never tell us, right? But it never stops with the number they start with, right? But critical, he didn't say no. He didn't say billion's the line. He has a line. He's just not saying, because it's lower than 200 million, right? It's like 10 million, right? He doesn't think anybody should have more than 10 million. And there's this whole conversation about the makers and the takers that Elon was posting about today, yesterday, whatever. Mamdani is a taker, right? And there's people defending Mamdani. Look, it's really simple, Elon's criticism. If you don't make stuff, there's no stuff. Mamdani's a taker. He hasn't made any stuff. His success is in organizing people and legislating and planning government to take stuff from the people who make it for themselves and maybe give a little bit to the other people who don't make. Oprah has over 3 billion entrepreneurship. But so then there's this question, like if you just look at Elon as an example, and there's many other examples, but I'm just using Elon as an example. If we don't have SpaceX, we don't have global internet with Starlink, because nobody else made global internet succeed. Nobody else made satellite internet succeed. We're launching rockets. If we're able to launch rockets at all into space, we're relying on Vladimir Putin, right? This whole conflict with Ukraine, like we're able to have this conflict with Ukraine because Elon provided Starlinks to Ukraine, despite all the complaints about it. No, Elon provided Starlink to Ukraine and doesn't provide Starlink to the Russians, right? But we have this conflict with Ukraine. Are we still going to launch rockets with Russia launching our rockets if we don't have SpaceX? Like, what's the game plan? What happens in the world if we don't have SpaceX and we don't have Tesla and you don't have Neuralink, right? Because Tesla and SpaceX got partial success, and now we have Neuralink, and Neuralink is helping people who are paralyzed and blind, right? And right now it's about 25, 26, 27 people that have gotten the implant so far. They just developed a new technique where they don't have to. There's 2 layers, and there's the skin. There's 3 layers. There's the skin, there's the skull, and then there's the dura. The dura is underneath the bone. And before, in any procedure, they had to cut the skin, the bone, and the dura to get into the brain. Neuralink has now developed a technology where they don't have to cut the dura. So that makes much lower risk of infection in the brain, much less trauma, much easier to heal, much quicker recovery, much lower cost. But you don't have Neuralink. If you say there's a cap, then why does Elon do more? If you say there's a cap, Jeff Bezos is developing Amazon. There's no Amazon Web Services, right? There's no, maybe they would like a world with no data centers, but there's no data centers. There's no incentive for a successful entrepreneur once they hit a certain point to build their business bigger. And these businesses serve people, right? I mean, look, I'm in Thailand. We have Lazada and we have Shopee. We don't have Amazon. I just want to tell you, if you don't appreciate Amazon, try living in Thailand. Amazon Japan is great. I was in Japan for a few months. Amazon Japan is great. I think I even used Amazon Japan when I was traveling to Japan. I ordered something to the hotel, so I would have it when I arrived at the hotel. Amazon Japan is great. Amazon America is great. Lazada and Shopee are horrible by comparison. They have cheap prices on some things. Some of the things are cheap, but the reviews are terrible. The reviews are unreliable. You don't even notice that something's actually coming from China. It ends up taking 3 weeks to come to you if it shows up at all. The wealth these billionaires developed are why federal budgets can be so large. Well, this is the thing. If they don't grow their businesses, right? There's no, think about it. They hate Walmart, right? But poor people like Walmart. You ever gone to a Walmart and seen what's in the cart, what's in the parking lot, who's shopping there? I've seen rich people shopping at Walmart too. But Walmart is a way that they'll complain about it, but Walmart is a way that poor people can afford to get by, right? And why would Sam Walton have grown Walmart? If you cut him off and said you can't have more than $10 million, then he builds one Walmart and probably stops after a few. There's no McDonald's, right? Why does McDonald's grow? Right? Who's the leader who grows these companies? At what point do they just say we're not going to bother? My best friend's wife won't let him buy a Tesla because she has EDS. Okay, I have a problem with his wife won't let him do something. Like, no, your wife doesn't control what car you drive. That's absurd. If you let your wife control what kind of car you drive, you got a problem. I don't, you know, when I was married in America, I didn't control what my wife drove. And I bought my wife a Tesla here, so um yeah, no, that's just absurd. So I just think that's something that's missing. There's another thing that's missing. Okay. One of the popular things, I made a video, I did a live short about this and didn't catch on, but I just have this issue. Like, there's this popular notion. I'm going to talk about some of the criticisms of Elon in a minute. There's this popular notion that Elon didn't earn it. That Elon got his money from the government and, $38 billion in subsidies, which is misleading or gross lie or whatever. Some of it was government contracts to do stuff where they were the low bidder. Like, and they participated in federal programs that were open to anyone, and the GM and Ford and whoever participated in them too. So where's you voted for these programs and he participated in the programs because you wanted him to make EVs. So he made EVs with the programs you wanted. And now you're complaining that he did what you wanted him to do, but he did it better than Ford. And I don't know. What's the criticism here, but whatever. Assume, okay, Elon got money from the government and that's why he's successful. Where are the other trillionaires? There's a whole lot of people. There's a whole lot of companies. They got a whole lot more money than Elon. Ford, General Motors, Chrysler, now Stellantis, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman. Like, there's an endless list of companies and business people. Bezos got more money than Elon. For Amazon Web Services got crazy money from the government. He's not a trillionaire. How much contracts has Google gotten? Sergey and Larry aren't trillionaires. Why is Elon a trillionaire? If he's not special, and then, like, I just love he just hires good people. Well, why doesn't Jeff Bezos hire good people? Why don't Sergey and Larry hire better people? What's going on? Why is he good at hiring good people? Why do good people want to work for Elon? They're just so dumb. Oh, happy post July 4th. Yeah, happy July 4th, everyone. I don't get that much into the, like, holiday thing. Merry Christmas, happy Festivus, whatever, I think that the spirit of July 4th was lost long ago. I don't know if it was in the 1800s or it was in the 1930s or whatever, but the spirit of America, I mean, there's some remnant of it when I was a kid, but it's pretty much gone. Wolf says the Democrats don't want to referee. They want complete control. Communism is knocking at the door, and many Democrats have the blinders on and can't think for themselves. I think that's probably true of a lot of Republicans, by the way, that they don't think for themselves either. There's a flood of propaganda. I feel like the propaganda went up a notch. Like, they started using split testing in 2015. The George Floyd one, there was some split testing going on. When they came up with defund the police, like, think about no one can ever defund the police. It doesn't make any sense. Like, you want to have laws, you want to control our life. How are you going to control what Elon does if you don't have police? It doesn't make any sense. Who's going to stop Elon from doing something? Who's going to take his money if you don't have police? It doesn't make any sense. Did I get soaked on Songkran? For those who don't know, Songkran is a holiday. I should have worn a Songkran shirt for you. Songkran is a holiday and festivals in Thailand, or festival in Thailand. And no, I avoid where people throw water on each other, and I avoid that. My wife tried to control my purchase as soon as she heard I wanted a Cybertruck. I don't care if I'm buying a Cybertruck. I'm buying a Cybertruck. If there's a money issue in the family and you can't afford it, that's a different story. You got to negotiate with your wife about how much you're spending on something. But you want to buy a Tesla and she wants you to buy a Honda Accord. Get the hell out of here. I'm buying a Model 3, not an Accord. Just so stupid. She gets car she wants, I get what car I want. I don't even understand the conversation. Unless you're controlling what car she's driving. Okay, then maybe there's a point there. But I just want to get back to this thing. If Elon only succeeded because he got money from the government, there's so many other people got so much more money from the government. Why aren't they trillionaires? And there's a point I wanted to get at. Is it in here? Where is it? I think it's here. Okay. I'll move this up. I've been having I don't post a lot on Instagram or Facebook, but I post a little. I forget what I posted. I posted something positive about Elon. One of my friends started ranting about Elon. Elon's not special. Elon just hires people. He got money from the government, blah, 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 blah. And, he's arrogant. He's this, he's that. He's just an orchestrator, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, look. And I sent him the Walter Isaacson bio. I said, why don't you read the biography? You're this motivated. You're posting this many comments about it. And I sent him a link, like this idea that Elon isn't special. He's not isn't particularly talented. He's just an orchestrator. Like, look, I sent him a link. I have a video on my channel that shows, first of all, AOC here. AOC here saying that Elon's not intelligent. Elon's not special. He's the most unintelligent billionaire, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And, I've got quotes from Andrej Karpathy and Jim Keller. We're going to talk about Jim Keller later in this video, by the way. Garrett Reisman, the astronaut with 2 PhDs from MIT and Caltech or something. Gwynne Shotwell and others, like, talking about, how special Elon is. Like, well, he just hires good people. Well, why do the good people say such good things about him? Oh, and this one, was it this one? There's this one idiot. I don't think it was this one. No, not that one. There's this one idiot who, like, muted me because I suggested, here, watch this video. He said, Elon's not special, blah, blah. Here, watch this video to see what his former employees say about him. The guy's like, well, those people are, they can't speak freely. Really? There's lots of people there's former employees of Elon who criticize him. Friend is forced to hang on to Prius? Oh my God. No. A Tesla Model 3 is so much safer than a Prius. Like, the safety difference is just off the charts. I'm not even talking about FSD. The crash safety on a Tesla versus a Prius is absurd. So, this is the thing that I see when I have conversations with people I actually know that I've met in the real world. Okay, there's the people online, but even with people I know in the real world, even people who aren't necessarily left, but they're in the middle, but they're exposed to the propaganda. And I'm like, look, read the Isaacson book, read the Vance book, read the book Liftoff, which is about the early days of SpaceX. I haven't read this one, the Book of Elon, whatever, because I feel like I already know everything in it. I watched an interview with the author. It's great, but I've heard all that stuff before. But I generally suggest reading the Isaacson book because it's not glowing, right? It has positive and negative. It's relatively balanced. I think he's wrong. I think the negatives are somewhat wrong, but relatively balanced. But listen to Jim Keller talk about him. Listen to Gary. Andrej Karpathy doesn't know Elon anything. He works for Anthropic now. He worked for OpenAI. The guy's got, who knows, probably $100 million banked. He's got FU money. Keller's got FU money. They don't need Elon. They can do whatever they want. Tom Muller's another one. Tom Muller runs Impulse Space, right? The Merlin engineer, the guy who basically built the rocket engines that run Falcon 9. And he's very, very positive about Elon. But you'd say this is like, oh, I don't have time. Well, you're posting a lot of comments about him. You seem motivated. And I even asked this friend, it's like, well, send me a link. Send me a link to a book I should read. Send me a link to a video I should watch that shows why I'm wrong. Because, he's calling me an Elon dick rider or whatever, or, I'm an Elon fan and I'm too, like, caught up in the cult. And look, I don't deny I'm in the cult, right? I'm a leader in the cult, I think, right? But there's a reason I'm in the cult, and I can back it up. Tell me what's wrong about my cult. Are Christians wrong for being Christian? I'm not saying it's the same thing, but I could be in the cult and be right to be in the cult. And I think this is one of the things that I think people don't understand. I'm a Tesla investor. I'm now a SpaceX investor. I'm also, by the way, I bought stock in NVIDIA and Google, or options in NVIDIA and Google. Long call options. Check my, here, we'll share this. If you haven't seen it, if you are a YouTube channel member, X subscriber, or a Patreon supporter, you can get access to my members only videos. I do a number of videos about long call options. So I own some NVIDIA and Google long call options now. Um, let's go with this. Is that okay? So there's this Samantha Power, professor at Harvard Law, Kennedy School, former U.S. aid administrator, former USAID administrator, former U.S. ambassador to the UN, appointed by Obama to the UN, appointed by Biden to the USAID. And she said she's complaining about Elon and the Trump administration terminating USAID's programs. I want to be clear about one thing. Elon did not terminate a thing. Doge did not terminate a thing. Elon and Doge made recommendations to departments. And in this case, I believe it was the Secretary of the State, and Marco Rubio and his department decided, yeah, we're going to cut these things. Elon didn't cut anything. He didn't have the power to cut anything. Doge didn't have executive power. It had recommendation power. And the executive, Rubio in this case, could have reviewed this and said, no, this is going to kill people. Millions of people are going to die if we do this. It's not true, of course. Millions of people didn't die. It's all fantasy. It's all a bunch of propaganda BS. But, here we have a Democratic Party hack appointed by Obama and Biden to political hack jobs with a personal financial interest in USAID pushing anti-Elon propaganda. And what we got? Harvard Law. My dad went to Harvard Law, by the way. I used to respect the Ivy League as a positive. If I saw somebody went to Harvard, I saw somebody went to Stanford, I saw somebody went to, Stanford's not Ivy League, but you get the idea. Columbia, whatever. I used to respect that. I have zero respect for that now. It's negative. It used to be a positive. Now it's a negative. Like, you went to one of these schools, I got a chip on my shoulder against you because I keep seeing this stuff from these schools. And it's funny, I have a Jewish friend, British Jewish friend, who was bragging about sending their kid to Columbia. And I'm like, Columbia? Really? That's like that bastion of anti-Semitism. That those guys hate Israel more than anybody. I didn't say anything. I was tempted to say something. I knew she was proud. I'll leave her, let her be proud of her daughter. Elon derangement syndrome is so. This British guy, Stephen Methven, is posting stuff. So Lewis Mosley works at Palantir, and he's describing his experience at Palantir. And this, I forget the specific crap he said about Palantir, right? So I think he said they were going to build their own. Like England should build their own, which is just so hilarious that the UK is going to build anything. Like what multi-billion-dollar company has the UK built in the last what tech company can you build in the UK? But somebody said, so get on with building one, you lazy left-wing clown. And this guy says now they're just a bunch of Musk cucks desperate to be US colonies. Like, Musk? Palantir isn't an Elon company. They are so obsessed with Elon that when Alex Karp and Palantir do something and Lewis Mosley does something, they pin it on Elon. Like, it's not even Elon's company. They don't even use Grok in their company. They use other AIs in their. I've never heard Alex Karp mention using Grok. I don't think they use Cursor either. I think they were using Anthropic and they've switched to using open source models and NVIDIA. They just partnered with NVIDIA to use NVIDIA's open source models. How did this become a Musk thing? This is how bent everyone is. All right. So I just wanted to, just hit this point that there's this concept that these guys have that this is, let's get back to the ultimate point here. Ban billionaires. I think it goes back to Godsod's suicidal empathy. I mean, like, what happens if you ban billionaires? No iPhone, no smartphones, right? The smartphones never happen. The iPhone never happens. I'm not sure Hewlett and Packard are both billionaires. I think one of them's dead. Maybe both of them are dead, but they became billionaires. So would we have calculators? Like, seriously, would we even have calculators? Like, where does this go? Think about all the things that have been developed by billionaires. We wouldn't have X. We wouldn't have YouTube, probably. Like, you're watching this video on YouTube or X, probably. We wouldn't have them. Like, it's so insane what they're talking about. And okay, so that's the past. So like, well, think about going forward. Like, what technologies, like right now, Neuralink is being developed to help in the future millions of paralyzed and blind people and deaf people and people with brain diseases. if you say that Elon can't be, you have to cut Elon off, like then Neuralink stops. The Boring Company is going to solve traffic problems, right? They're already doing tunnels in Nashville. They're doing tunnels in Dubai. They've got extensive tunnels in Las Vegas. They'll probably be doing other cities soon. And it solves the traffic problem at low cost. And you want people stuck in traffic? You want air pollution from gas cars on the surface instead of EVs running in tunnels? There's consequence. This is the thing, okay? This is the problem with the left. This is one of many problems with the left. There are consequences to these policy choices. And I think going along with this is this problem with today's youth, which is driven by our education system that misled them. And I think I did okay with my kids, and my kids, I think, understand the value of capitalism. I got to tell this story. So my kids are in, I forget how old they were, middle school maybe. And I said, the superintendent of schools, Palm Beach County, Florida. I said, the superintendent of schools, which is a blue state, a blue county, they've decided it's not fair that some kids are getting Fs. So they're taking the kids who've got like the A's and the A pluses and they're putting them to B's. And they're going to move the kids with the F's and the D's up to C's. So it's more fair. And my kids worked really hard and they got A's. They were like very good students. They got into, they got scholarships and good SAT scores and they got into great schools. And they're like, that's not fair. I worked hard. And now, on the one hand, they know how hard they work for their grades, right? And the other hand, this is something that a lot of people don't realize. Like, I know it from being a substitute. I know it from being around my kids, seeing what they see, especially from being a substitute teacher, but also being like a chaperone. I would take there would be like a trip to Disney or something because we were in Florida. So there's a trip to Disney or Universal Studios like every year. And I would chaperone those trips because I always had time and I like being around my kids and I like helping out. And I would meet and band. I'd go to band, I'd go to theater, whatever. And I'd meet some of the kids who were not the best kids. And what the good kids know, what the kids who are getting good grades know, the hardworking kids know is the kids who are getting F's and D's, they're assholes. They're lazy fucking assholes who don't work hard. And the idea that I'm working hard for my grades and you're going to take something from me and you're going to give it to these lazy fucking assholes. My kids understood that. My kids are not right wing, right? They're on social issues, they're pretty left. But on capitalism, like they know they have to work for money. They work jobs in the summer, they work part-time jobs, whatever. I help them, right? But as in high school or whatever, they're working part-time jobs, right? They're working to get a check. They get it. They understand. Right? They're not lazy. They work hard. They worked hard for grades and they worked hard to make a little bit of money. Even though it wasn't a lot of money, they worked. Sexton, please don't pollute the chat with all that emoji stuff. I don't like that. If you do more of that, I'm going to remove you from the chat. I appreciate the enthusiasm, but yeah, thank you, Mark. A little less on the emojis. That's not appropriate for the chat. So, sorry. So there's this thing with the younger generation, and there's a famous quote from Mitt Romney. He was at some event that was supposed to be private, and somebody videoed it, and he said something along the lines of like 47% of America is getting a check from the government, and 53% don't. And if you don't get all the 53%, 50 of the 51 of the 53% to vote Republican, then the Democrats win. And as time goes on, what the Democrats are doing, they're bringing in illegals and everybody, put everybody on a check from the government. And you can end up in a situation where the takers outvote the makers. Right now, some of the takers understand. This is one of the things that they know that they're trying to prevent the takers from understanding is if you take everything from the makers and you prevent the makers from making, then there's nothing left to take. So these people, right, the Bernies and the AOCs and Elizabeth Warren, they don't give rat's ass about poor people. They don't care. They use poor people for their agenda because what they want is power. They know they're not fools. They know that if their agenda is followed, then the makers stop making and there's less stuff and everyone suffers. They know this. They want power that bad. And I'm not saying Republicans are that much better. I just want to be clear. Republicans have their own set of problems. So, This is the consequence. This is and we can stop and call it democratic socialism. It's a lie. Right now, the Democratic Party has gone Islamo-communist. Zoran Mamdani is the effective leader of the Democratic Party right now, and everybody else is trying to like stay aligned with him because the momentum of the party is with him. And here's what I don't know. Okay? I don't know what percentage of America is on board with Islamo-communism. They fake it, they hide it, they say we just care about lowering the rent, we care about, grocery stores and all this stuff. But their policies are absolutely absurd. They don't work, they can't work. California is on the verge of collapse, financial collapse. If you watch the All In pod, Friedberg talked about it. I don't know if anybody, I think it was Friedberg who talked about it, the extent to which California is in deep, deep financial trouble, and that, AOC is president, and then California collapses financially, and then does the U.S. bail them out, and do Texas and Florida, which have been responsible with money, have to pay to bail out California, and does that lead to a civil war? Does that lead to Texas and Florida and several other states saying we want out, we don't want to pay for this? And then do we have a civil war? And then, well, do they support the military when it comes to a civil war like that? Of course they do. They'll drop bombs on Americans in a heartbeat. Not Palestinians, but Americans for sure. They don't mind killing Americans. They don't mind killing Jews. They don't mind killing Christians. Just not Palestinians, not Iranian Muslims. You can kill Iranian, Persian non-Muslims all you want. Just don't kill the Iranian Muslims. That's the Democratic Party. I don't know how to explain it. You can kill Russian soldiers. You can't kill Ukrainian soldiers unless there's a good reason, or we're not busy talking about that right now. So you can go ahead and kill them. Just a side note, by the way, on politics. This is one of those things about AI. So we got Grok in the car, and I'm having a chat with a Grok, and there's this topic on my mind. I hear about this a lot. You don't know about this in Thailand. There's this issue where Chinese tourism is down to Thailand. One of the reasons is because of a perceived lack of safety, which is really bizarre to me because I feel very safe in Thailand. And the thing is, people like me are not targeted for this particular scam. And the scam is, at least as far as China goes, I think it happens in other places. They'll see a job offer, come to Bangkok. We're going to set you up in this job. It's great pay, whatever. And they fall for it. I think the reason they don't do it to us is because we don't fall for it. Right. But they fall for it. And they show up at an airport in Bangkok and they say, oh, yeah, just hop in this van. And then 12 hours later, they're in a scam compound in Myanmar or Cambodia with guns, surrounded by guns, being ordered to do scam work, email spam or phone spam or whatever. So I'm having this conversation, like 300,000 people are slaves in this scam compound thing. 300,000. Almost none of them are American, Western European, whatever. It's like Chinese, some Thai people, Indians, Africans, whatever. There's a ridiculous number of these people, but like 300,000. Like I was shocked. Like I thought, okay, it's like a few thousand. And I was like, why doesn't the Chinese military just go in and blow them up? It's possible the Chinese government's in on it. Whenever a Chinese celebrity, what happens is a Chinese celebrity will fall for it. Some like mid-level actor who's somewhat popular, and they get stuck in one of these scam compounds. Then the Chinese get them out. They get that guy out. Maybe they'll get a few others out. And there's a few operations, and they'll take out a few people, but just amazing. So that's like a detail. Like, don't take my word for it. Ask one of your AIs or do research on your own. Ask about the scam compounds in Myanmar and Cambodia and Laos and a couple other places. I think they're even in China. I'm not sure. And ask, just explore it. I'm honestly shocked. You can, if you want another one, you can ask about the Indonesian genocide in West Papua. 500 million people killed. Or you can ask about the conflict in southern Thailand or in the Philippines and the island of Mindanao, and like 7,600 people killed in Thailand and the Muslim insurgency in southern Thailand. There's all these conflicts. Like there's all these things in the world that you don't hear about because they don't bring, their propaganda team doesn't bring it up. They only give you the conflicts they want to give you. They don't talk about the conflicts they don't want to talk about. They don't talk about Pakistan, what Pakistan does to India, what India does to Pakistan. No one cares what brown people do to each other. What can brown do for you? That's a friend of mine. One of my Indian friends says that line. All right, so we'll talk about something else for a second. I noticed this in Elon's profile. He changed it to Starmind. Up here is one of the AI-1 satellites depicted in the banner, but Starmind. I hadn't seen that before, so I think the vision is that the AI in space becomes a mind, right? That's where AGI or ASI gets hosted, is on orbital satellites networked together, probably orbiting the sun. We taxed every dollar above 999 million, 100%, we would have universal basic income when the robots take all the jobs. So Google Video Man, we'll go back to our topic for a second. Google Video Man says something false. He says, if we taxed every dollar above $1 billion or $1 billion and up, 100%, we could have universal basic income for when the robots take all the jobs. So if you taxed income at $1 billion or up, then no one would make more than $1 billion. Why would Elon's got $180 million. He built Tesla and SpaceX. At a certain point, he hits $1 billion. Why does he keep building? I'm going to ask you this, Google Video Man, if you can explain this. Why does he keep building? Why does any entrepreneur who hits whatever and by the way, it's not $1 billion. If you watched earlier in the video, Bernie said 200 million. Bernie didn't deny 200 million. We don't know how low the number goes. What if the number's 10 million? Right? But I'm probably going to get to 10 million in the next few years. What's my incentive to invest more, to invest? So like I invest my capital in companies that grow, and those companies grow the economy. If you're going to tell me I'm capped at 10 million, then when I hit 10 million, I'm putting it all in the bank. I'm putting it all in something safe. I'm not investing in growth companies anymore because there's no point in growing. Like, it's not just the entrepreneur who gets caught out, right? It's also the investor. So the capital dries up. Like it doesn't, the U.S. can invest. Yeah, 14.4 points this out. The government can confiscate all U.S. billionaire wealth and not even pay for a year of, I think it's way less than a year of government. It's way less. But this is the thing, when you confiscate the wealth, it ends up not being nearly as much as you think, because if you confiscated Elon's wealth, right, you took his shares in SpaceX and Tesla, the values of the companies would collapse. Elon leaves. He's not working for free. He's not working at Tesla. He's probably going to China, right? But he's not working at Tesla. So the value of Tesla and SpaceX fall by way more than 50%, right? And then how many people at Tesla and SpaceX are a billionaire? Like Gwynne Shotwell's leaving. Gwynne Shotwell's not working anymore. Brett Johnson's a billionaire. He's not staying. But you're probably going down to the 100 million range, and a lot of the engineers leave. Same thing with Tesla, right? The top people leave. Then the other people, what about the people who are close? Like, I've got 5 million banked, and if I work really hard at this company, I could get to 10, 20 million. And like, no, you're capped at 10 million. I'm out. Yeah, you stop working when you hit X. So Google Video Man, do you still believe what you wrote, or were you joking? I can't tell whether you were serious or not. Anyway, Elon's calling it Starmind. I was watching a video with Elon and Peter Diamandis, and they were talking about the Dyson sphere, the Dyson swarm around the sun. And does 10 million include total? Yes. Wait, what difference does it make? You got $1 million house and it's 10 million, not including the house, so it's 11 million? It doesn't matter. Wherever you draw the line, there's a lot of people who are going to just stop producing. And this is the thing, you have a society of makers and takers, right? And if the makers stop making, if you don't make stuff, there's no stuff. Who's making the stuff? Right? And there's this thing where they deny that Elon is productive. Right? That's their story. The story is Elon doesn't produce anything, he just hires people and they produce stuff. Well, he's not hiring people, so they're not producing stuff. They don't just magically organize into producing stuff. And Bernie Sanders and AOC and Elizabeth Warren and Zoran Mamdani are not going to organize them into producing anything of value, because they don't know how to allocate. They don't know how to allocate capital. They don't know how to organize. They're not going to walk into a meeting and say, "Oh, we need to use stainless steel instead of fiberglass." It's not fiberglass. It's I forget, the carbon fiber, right? They're not walking in a meeting making engineering decisions. Who's making the big decisions? Like, everything falls apart. And there's so many people like, well, Elon doesn't do anything special. So he, like, why did I buy a Tesla Model Y? Did I choose Tesla Model Y wrongly? Is there some other car I should have bought? Why is it the best-selling car in the world? Why are all these people making these terrible decisions to buy Model Ys? If Elon isn't special, why is the Tesla Model Y the best-selling car in the world? If Elon isn't special, why hasn't anybody else landed? I think Blue Origin landed an orbital rocket booster. I don't know if they've reused one yet, but why isn't anybody else reusing rocket boosters in volume? China has all the resources in the world. They got brilliant engineers. They haven't landed a rocket booster yet. Why is Elon the only one who's been able to do that? He just happened to find the right engineers and they chose to work for him by accident? It was just some sort of magical like thing? Did he accidentally succeeded in both Tesla and SpaceX, not to mention Neuralink and the Boring Company and PayPal and Zip2 and I'm probably missing one. Right? It's all just magic. Right? It's coincidence. Coincidence. The government gave Elon money and he started up Neuralink without government money. And Neuralink is successful even though Elon didn't take any government money for that. They never talk about Neuralink, by the way. They'll never talk about Neuralink. They can't touch Neuralink. The best they'll come up with is, oh, there were some monkeys that were hurt. Yeah? Yeah, there's 26 paralyzed people who are regaining their lives. Thanks. And the blind people are coming. I swear I want to have like a congressional hearing and I want to wheel 20 of these paralyzed people in to tell Congress what Elon's done for them. I want every Democrat forced to listen to Nolan Arbaugh talking about what he went through in life and what Elon has done for him. Yeah, well, you'd hide your money in cash. You'd put your money in another country. There's all kinds of ways out. So, I wanted to mention this. Okay, a couple things. So Elon talked about Grok Imagine. Grok Imagine's improved. I've been using Grok Imagine a lot. I also use ChatGPT for image generation. I think this thumbnail was half ChatGPT and half Grok Imagine. Sometimes I use Gemini. Gemini's pretty good at image generation. I don't think Claude does image generation or video generation. So it's, there's a lot of variety in the AIs. This is the AI. I don't have an AI stocks report for you today, by the way. I screwed that up. But then Peter Diamandis had this line, which Elon says is true. Only AI can keep up with AI. That's what will guide the entire security model of the next decade. So there's one vision that one AI wins and it beats out all the other AIs. I think the reality is that there will be multiple AIs and there will always be multiple AIs, and some will have Claude Code will have a strength in coding. Gemini will have a strength in vision. There's different strengths. By the way, I was coding today. I wanted to mention this also. I was using Grok Build and Composer today. Composer 2.5, which is the cursor model that SpaceX bought. I'm working on my TIE flashcard app, and I now have 300. It's called Canonical. I have a Canonical file. I'm building up a vocabulary for my flashcard app, and I demoed it, and it's working. And so the idea of multiple AIs is what I wanted to get at. This is my strategy generally with coding now. And I encourage anybody, by the way, think about something you want to do. Think about something you want to build. This is like, I can't say this enough. Try. Have a conversation with Grok, have a conversation with ChatGPT, have a conversation with Claude, have a conversation with Gemini. Ideally pay for one or more than one. I pay for 3 of them. I pay for Gemini. I probably should stop paying for Gemini, but I pay for Gemini, I pay for Grok, and I pay for ChatGPT right now. I don't pay for Claude yet. And so I'll talk to Grok Build first. Typically, I'll talk to Grok first. And I'll say, here's what I want to do. How do you think we should do this? Give me a plan. Then I give the plan to ChatGPT and say, review the plan. ChatGPT makes suggestions. I go back to Grok. I'm talking about Grok Build now, right? I go back to Grok Build and I say, okay, what do you think of this plan? It's usually like, sounds good. I can do it. Okay, please execute the plan. Now let's review the work. Have ChatGPT review the work. Right? Okay, we're halfway through. Had ChatGPT review the work halfway. Go back. It's perfect. So you can use AIs to check each other. You can use AIs to help each other. I think this fantasy about there's one AI and one AI rules, and there's one ring to rule them all, whatever. I think that there's a fundamental reality that there will always be multiple AIs. There may be many AIs, and they will have different strengths and different weaknesses. And you can use, even if one is better than the other, it doesn't really matter. One reviews the other, and you pick up errors, you pick up details. So there's a lot of really cool stuff with these AIs, and I would encourage, just think about, it could be something in the physical world that you want to do. You want to build a prototype, and you don't know how to build the prototype. And you have the conversation with, I had this conversation with Gemini about the pod car. I might do this next year because Gemini says I can do it. All right. I'm going to turn to Google Video Man first. How will social programs be funded if we don't tax the rich? Where does the money come from to fund social programs? Elon said we'll need universal basic income in the future. Okay, so first of all, Elon said universal high income or universal free stuff or whatever you want to call it. There's no simple answer to that question. But I would say this: $18 billion has gone into California high-speed rail since 2008. $15 billion. Before SpaceX IPO, $15 billion went into SpaceX. Who allocated the capital better? Are you happy that $18 billion was taken from rich people and invested in California high-speed rail? Are you happy with the results of this allocation of capital? You have this assumption that if you let these people tax the rich, that they will use it to help the poor. Why the fuck do you believe that? How much evidence do you need that that's false? Just tell me. Google Video Man, I want you to tell me what you learned from the California high-speed rail story. $18 billion, not a foot of track, no train, no passengers, nothing. Elon gets $15 billion in capital invested, including his own. We got 10,000 satellites in space for Starlink. He's launching people to the space station, rescued astronauts from another company that failed, that was much better funding from the government, saves us from having to launch with Putin. But if you take the 15 million, you say, well, let's go with the 18 billion. You got Neuralink and the Boring Company thrown in. 26 people, 26 paralyzed, maybe more than 26 now. 26 paralyzed people have been helped by Neuralink. What the hell happened to the $18 billion? So Google Video Man, I want you to answer that question. Don't ask me about how you fund social programs. You tell me how you stop these fuckers from taking the money from the makers and not burning it on nothing. Tell me how you fix the problem of how they spend our money. Because I'm not okay with any taxes until you fix the spending. Right? Because the federal government spends, I don't know, $7 trillion a year. California spends however much money it spends, right? They spend crazy amounts of money. It doesn't matter. You have this fantasy that if you tax rich people that you're gonna help the poor people. They don't help the poor people. They don't care about the poor people. They want the money. They want power. They want to fund their NGOs. They don't even care if it destroys the economy and there's less money for everybody. They don't care. They just want power. Who does Bernie love? He loved the Soviets. He loved the Cubans. What kind of life did the people in those countries have? He thought he will tell people openly those are better systems than the American system. So Google Video Man, I'm looking for you. I'm waiting for you to tell me your answer. How? Where I'm from, our capital gains tax is 0%. I could sell and buy shares without tax. Our sovereign wealth fund helps. Grokdex, where are you from? What is that, like Norway or something? Europe doesn't have UBI and they're running out of money. Why do people think the US can do better? Yeah, it's like, where has this worked anywhere? But I'm just going to be clear. So for the people who aren't reading the chat, there's this account called Google Video Man who is insisting that we need to tax the rich to fund social programs. And these people don't fund social programs. They don't help poor people. They give the money to NGOs. The NGOs don't help poor people. They just pocket the money. They buy real estate. They buy fancy cars. The wealthiest counties in the United States surround Washington, D.C. Why? Oh, Singapore. Yeah, Singapore is an interesting country, but you don't let us live in your public housing. You make us pay full price for housing. You get a good price on housing. Singapore is a special exception for a lot of reasons. It's hard to replicate that in a full country. And you just had, a great leader for a long time, and you have a government that's relatively, if not completely, uncorrupt. There's something remarkable that Lee Kuan Yew did with Singapore that no one, I don't know if anybody's ever replicated that. We'll see. I think Argentina's doing great stuff. We'll see how Argentina does. Okay, so another topic. I mentioned Jim Keller earlier. I want to talk about Jim Keller a bit. Jim Keller is a legendary chip architect, microchip architect. Multiple, I think it was started with Digital Equipment Corporation, Apple, etc. And he worked at Tesla on, I think, the Hardware 3 chip. I don't think he worked on Dojo, but he worked on the Hardware 3 chip. I'm not sure if he worked on Hardware 4 at all. And then he co-founded a company with Sam, and their company was called Atomic Semi, and now it's called Fab 2. I thought Jim had a company called Tens Torrent, so I don't know if that's a separate company or if that's joined up. So one of the huge problems in America today, in the world today, is getting enough fabs to produce enough chips. So what does Fab 2 do? They print chips, they print fabs, they print masks. So I'm not claiming I fully understand this startup. Oh yeah, Keller's interview. I think Keller had 2 interviews with Lex, by the way. Jim Keller interviews with Lex for Killer. Keller. He's also the brother-in-law of Jordan Peterson, believe it or not. He married Peterson's sister or something like that. So I might have that wrong. So Fab 2 prints masks, Fab 2 prints transistors. It's a startup. So whatever Jim Keller does, I'm interested. Whenever somebody from Tesla, could be Tom Muller's Impulse Space. There's a rail company called Parallel Systems. It's kind of interesting. I always look into the Drew Baglino's Heron Power. It's going to be really important going forward for data centers. So there's this interesting. Let me just cover the last slide here. Fab 2 team can build anything. We design all the hardware and software needed to make chips. So one of the challenges, I talk about the supply chain for AI a lot. One of the challenges for the supply chain for AI is EUV lithography, extreme ultraviolet lithography, is an essential feature of all modern chip fabs. There's also deep ultraviolet DUV, deep ultraviolet lithography. But those 2 levels of lithography are essential for mass producing chips at high speed and high volume. And they have some other technology. I did a little bit of research. They have some other technology called E-beam. As far as I can tell, E-beam does not work at as small a scale. I think they're down to 10 nanometers, not down to 2 nanometers, and it doesn't produce in volume yet. But they've announced something, and I think there may be something more coming here, and this could play a role in Terafab. This could be a feature. Like Terafab has this problem. Can we get lithography machines from ASML? Elon was actually, I was watching the Diamandis interview, and Elon was a little bit critical of ASML. And then there's also Heron Power, right? So some of Elon's former employees have startups that may play a role in Terafab. Because Heron Power is like a perfect fit for the 800-volt data centers that they want to build with Vera Rubin chips. Let's see. We got Google Video Man has a response. China might be a good model to work off of. China. Okay, China might be a good model to work off of. Really? That's what you got? They have high-speed railway system. Your solution to the problem with government, with these assholes wasting our money, your solution is the Chinese model? So you don't want democracy anymore. Your solution is non-democracy. You're literally, Bernie's solution is communism. Communist control of the economy. I mean, China has some capitalism, I'll give you that. They allow billionaires, by the way. They don't have a problem with billionaires as long as the billionaires don't criticize the government. So you're not making a lot of sense here. Do they tax billionaires in China? Is that how they do it? This is one of the things you get people in the chat. It's like Google video, like the government steps in to fund some projects that could work here too. Okay, you started off with taxing anybody who has more than $1 billion. China doesn't do that. You started off with we need a better system to like take care of the poor people. China doesn't take care of the poor people. Poor people are a lot worse off in China than they are in the US. They have apartheid in China. They have effective apartheid. If you're not from a big city, then you're rural, and there's this whole hukou system, something like that. I don't even want to get started with what they did to Tibet and what they did in Xinjiang with the Uyghurs. And maybe they're like, I'm not saying they're wrong to do what they did, but I don't know if Democrats want to, are you good with them occupying Tibet too? Like what part of the Chinese model, how do you expect us to adopt the Chinese model exactly? It's so comical when you see, so when people are so brain dead, no offense, Google Video Man, but I do intend to offend you. You're so brain dead that you think the solution is to ban billionaires. And you don't listen to anything in the video that I just explained about how if you ban billionaires, all these things don't happen. And then you assert that we need to tax billionaires to fund the poor when these people don't take care of the fucking poor people. And I asked you directly, how do you explain to me the California high-speed rail thing? And he just totally whiffed it. They won't talk about California high-speed rail because that's what they fucking do with our money. Okay. 14.4 says, I assume Norway, they also have high. Norway has North Sea oil. It's 20% of their GDP is they just got free money from the oil from the ocean. That's why Norway is successful. 20% of their economy is just oil comes in and they just stick it in the sovereign wealth fund, and then they'd have they're relatively lower taxes and a lot of jobs. R.W. Hirsch, will Elon make the EUV machines more efficient? Thoughts? My gut is that Elon has a solution to the EUV machine shortage. He's very clear that he understands why TSMC and ASML are not growing as fast as he wants them to, because there's not going to be enough electricity to power the chips if they grow too quickly. So you have to have the electricity to power the chips. There's not going to be enough electrical hardware to power the chips. You build too many chips and the people put them in data centers and can't turn them on. That's not a good customer experience. So China has high-speed rail because they don't worry about property rights, the environment, or worker safety. It's just so absurd. It's so absurd that was your example. Oh, we should do what China did. Are you out of your fucking mind? I'm not like, I honestly think like the future might be in China, because these people will destroy America. They will destroy America, and China may be I think Argentina is a better prospect than China, but if she wins in 2028, America's over, China wins. That's it. Part of the spending problem begins with municipal jobs, spending money on fancy equipment and new buildings so they keep up with the Joneses. The municipal problem is nothing compared to the federal problem. I was on the town board. I've seen it. There's problems there, but it's nothing compared to the federal government. The state governments are 10x worse than the local governments, and the federal, except for New York City. The big cities are bad, right? But the regular towns and villages and small cities, they can't afford to mess around like that. Shouldn't we? While there's a lot of chatter about billionaires being something we shouldn't have from the far left, no one is actually proposing legislation to ban them. Everything proposed is simply taxing. No. Bernie said, if you watch the clip at the beginning of this video, Bernie said if we had appropriate tax system, then no one would be a billionaire. That's what he said. That's what he said. If you watch the very beginning of the video, the first minute of the video, you will see multiple people saying billionaires should not exist. AOC said it. Bernie said it. And I got another one that said it, and there's plenty more. You cannot tax unrealized gains. They can tax unrealized gains. They will tax unrealized gains. They want to tax unrealized gains. Any guesses on what's brewing at Tesla July 7th? I have no guesses. You're not using Fable 5 better than the others you mentioned. So, my impression of Claude, okay, is I use Claude a little. The chatbot version of Claude is not better than ChatGPT or Grok or Gemini. Not better. My understanding is that in coding, it's better. I think it's better for large projects, for big coding jobs. The job that I'm doing is building a fairly small app that's ultimately going to be on an iPhone. It's going to be on my Mac right now, but it's going to be on an iPhone. It's going to be on Android. And it's a fairly small, fairly simple project, and it doesn't need high-end coding, right? I'm mixing Codex and Grok and Cursor 2, which, by the way, everything I'm reading Cursor 2 is very good. So, and then the problem with Anthropic, from what I hear from other people, is like if I pay $20 a month, because I'm paying $20 a month for, I think I pay more for Super Grok, but I pay $20 a month for Gemini and Codex, ChatGPT. If I pay $20 a month for Anthropic, I'm going to get cut off fast. You're going to make me pay $100 a month, and I'm still going to get cut off. Yeah, if you knew how much like the amount of tokens I burned today, like I would have been cut off already. Comedy Canada's bad. Canada's a worse housing crisis than the US. Canada's far gone. How did Canada come up? Mark says Elon has a solution. A solution to what, Mark? Okay, the last thing I wanted to mention really quick is the Model YL is in the US. I don't think this is as big of a deal as other people think it is. I think it will sell well in the United States. I don't think it sells that well here in Thailand. It sells, but I don't think it sells that well here in Thailand. I don't think it sells that well in China. The market in most of the world is looking for it as inexpensive as possible, right? And the demand and if you want to buy a 6-seat vehicle in Thailand that's an EV, there's a bunch that are cheaper than a Model YL. And then also, like, they want functional space. Like the Model YL drives great. The Model YL is comfortable. It's got pretty good space. But there's a lot of minivan style EVs from China that are less expensive or comparably priced that have a lot more. And then they have like this is stuff you wouldn't understand in America. You have to think of, let me explain this, okay? The second row seats are massaging seats in the Chinese EVs. In the luxury Chinese EVs. The second row, not the front seats. The second row seats are massaging seats. Why? Because the rich people pay a driver. Drivers are like, you can't believe how cheap it is to hire people in these countries. So they pay a driver. If you're rich enough to afford a Model Y, which doesn't sound like it's that rich to you guys, right? But if you're rich enough to afford to buy a Model Y in Thailand, you're rich enough to hire a driver. So they're paying a driver to drive them around. So the driver doesn't need a massage seat, but the second row seats are massage seats. They're not engineering the Model Y for the market. Google Video Man says the problem with California's high-speed rail project was they weren't getting enough backing from they had $18 billion. They don't have any rail. 18 billion. You wanted them to have more? The only way a socialist system works is if everybody's paying in, not just one state. No, they had 18 billion. They had 3 billion more than all the money that was invested in SpaceX from 2008, the same time that they started, until the SpaceX IPO. $18 billion, nothing. And your answer is they need more money? You got to be shitting me. That's absolutely absurd. You went from like zero credibility to negative credibility with that answer. Zero. You went to negative. One of the reasons why it's hard to grow in the high speed. What? Sorry. Hard to grow in the high speed is the challenge of finding people with the right engineering experience. And the high speed what? High speed rail? They had $18 billion. They couldn't hire people? What are you saying? I don't know if you were talking about something else. Robotaxis will kill sales. Google Venereal Man is now taunting you. Venereal Man. Any comments on Miami Robotaxi launch? I was very excited about it. I posted about it. I asked a couple friends if they're trying it. I have friends in Miami. One of them didn't respond. I don't think he's in Miami right now. The other one has Elon derangement syndrome and refuses. Do I still believe that Tesla and SpaceX will not merge? That's a good thing to ask. That's a great question, Blake. I still believe they will not merge. I still think it doesn't make sense for them to merge. I still think it's a bad decision for them to merge. I've heard so many people saying they're going to merge. Could be Chamath. Mattered a lot to me when Chamath said it. When Gwen Shotwell was asked about it, she said it would make Elon's life easier, but she's not thinking about it. I've heard so many people saying it. I still don't think it's going to happen. I think it's unnecessary. It's the people say it's going to save paperwork. The paperwork involved in doing the merger will be 10x all the paperwork savings that's there. But I got so nervous, I sold some of my long call Tesla options, and I bought, I think it was NVIDIA long call options. Maybe it was Google long call options. I forget. Yes, Japan has high-speed rail. They built it a long time ago. They're still growing it. Do I think Vance will be on the ticket? Maybe Rubio. I'd offer the latter. I think that Vance and Rubio are the top two candidates. I'm not following it closely enough to say who is more likely to be the candidate. I like both of them. I like Vance a little better, but it's not like a strong opinion. I think that they've both been great in the Trump administration. I think they were both great in the campaign. I'm from Florida. For the last 11 years of my American life, maybe 12 years of my American life, I was in Florida. So I partial to Rubio for that. I didn't like him a few years ago. Like the last time I think it was his last Senate election. He impressed me more. He's impressed me as Secretary of State. Both of them get abused on social media, and both of them take it really well. And I think that's a really good sign. But I will say this. I don't think either of them is Trump. I don't think either of them has. It's funny to say this because I don't personally like Trump, but I don't think either of them has Trump's charisma. I don't think the Republicans have a candidate that has the charisma of Trump, the ability to. Maybe Vance, I think in particular, might be a little better at this, but the ability to just take it and move on. And Maybe. And I think AOC is like I think she's annoying as hell, but she's attractive. She's young. People like her. I don't like her, but people like her. Um, she a total idiot, but I think there's an interesting question. Like, is she going to go on Rogan? Like, I think she's the likely candidate. I think Gavin Newsom right now is the leader in the polls, but I don't think Gavin Newsom will be the candidate. I think it'll probably be AOC. You saw at the beginning of the video, Friedberg said it'll be her. And I think Friedberg said she's going to win. I think they all think that she's going to win. And the ultimate problem is that the economy is not doing that well. It's not bad, but it's not doing that well. And the economy won't turn around enough for the Republicans to be able. And we'll see what happens in the midterm elections. We'll see. Oh, the high speed that Elon expects ASML to grow. The problem for ASML, it's not a question of the inability to grow. TSMC, ASML, and Zeiss Optics, which is effectively not a part of ASML, but like a key supplier to ASML. Companies like that are fearful that if they grow too fast, then they will have unused merchandise to sell, and there are cycles in their business that they've seen before, and they're worried about the cyclical nature of the business, and they're afraid to grow. And there are reasons. Elon said this. If there's not enough electricity generation, if there's not enough electrical hardware to power the data centers, then you've made chips and no one can use them. So they are conservative about growth. It's not that they can't grow; it's they're conservative about growth. Google Video Man is back. Well, for better or worse, America's the only country where a person can become a trillionaire. Hooray for that, I guess. Well, I mean, how many other countries? Forget about trillionaires and billionaires. What country in the world produces great companies? What country in the world has produced great companies and great technology in the last 20 years? Not many. Not at the scale of, like, produce great technologies that are changing the world for the better, right? I would go with Israel, but Israel's small, so it's not that many. Um, Israel does some pretty cool technology. Singapore, maybe, maybe. I think there's a lot of hope for Dubai, for the United Arab Emirates, maybe. A couple of those countries in the Middle East, in the Arab Peninsula that might do something, but not a lot, right? So, you talk about him becoming a trillionaire like it matters. Like, why did he become a trillionaire? He became a trillionaire because he built great companies that do great things that serve people and help people. Do you want to live in a country where people can't build great companies that help people and make life better for people? Is that what you want? Right? Is that what you want? You want to live in a country where people can't innovate and grow and build great companies that create great jobs. And I'm sorry, the nose is going crazy right now. I think AOC is going to become a New York senator first. Nope. Nope. Well, I mean, maybe she's going to run for senator, but she's running for president. She's very clearly running for president. Oh, America has a few years. I'm in Thailand. I'm an American citizen. I care about America, but I'm already out. My kids are there. I can get my kids out. Um, Singapore is very limited with talents. Even Lee Kuan Yew said we'll lose to America. So America's the long-term prospects are, and if you listen to Ray Dalio, China is rising, America is falling. Um, I think that Elon believes that he understands Ray Dalio's position. He doesn't think Ray's wrong, but he thinks that America developing AI can change everything, can change the game. Is the woke mind virus suicidal empathy? Yeah, it's the same thing. This idea that I think the woke mind virus, suicidal empathy is a part of the woke mind virus. They're not one and the same. The woke mind virus is broader, but part of the woke mind virus is suicidal empathy. I don't trust a country where you can't spit on the sidewalk. That's a weird thing to say. Okay. Um, yeah. Singapore has a limited population. I think Israel's about twice the size of Singapore, limited population. There's only so much you can do. But Singapore is for what they have, Singapore is a great place. I've been to Singapore a few times. And thank you for your support, by the way, Grokdex. Do I think EDS, TDS is curable? No. No. I don't think I have not seen. I'm trying to think if anyone I know who has gone, anti-Trump, anti-Elon has woken up. Twitter files didn't wake anyone up. The revelation of what happened in Wuhan didn't wake anyone up? No. No, I think that what happened is that there's a propaganda machine that got very, very effective. There's a striking degree of effectiveness of the propaganda machine. And the Republicans have a propaganda machine too. I'm not saying they don't. Israel has a propaganda machine too. The Palestinians, I mean, just as an example, I'm sorry, I'm so hooked on this Palestinian thing. I watched a video. I'm sorry, this is painful. I never saw this video before. It's a video of a Gaza civilian or Hamas terrorist. And he's wearing civilian clothes. On October 7th, there's a Thai agricultural worker. A lot of people don't know that there were thousands of Thai people working as agricultural workers in Israel, and there are again. And Hamas and the Gaza civilians who came with them killed about 30 Thai workers and 10 Nepali workers on October 7th. So there's this one Thai guy who's on the ground, stomach is bloody, like very bloody. And the guy's trying to hack his head off with a garden hoe. Just like taking a garden hoe and going like this and hacking at his throat. Didn't work, at least not in the video. And screaming Allahu Akbar while he's doing it. And I can't unsee that one. I can't recommend that you watch it, but it's just like, now, look, if there was video of an Israeli soldier doing that to a guy lying on the ground, the Israeli military would investigate the guy and he would be prosecuted. He would be at least taken out of the military. He would be disgraced. He would probably be put in prison, right? What do you think the Palestinians, do you think Palestinians, the Arabs, Arab Muslims generally in the world watched that video and thought, oh, that guy's a bad guy for doing that? They were fucking cheering that. Like there's this degree of barbarism in the, and do you think any of these people said anything about it? I'm going to say this because I'm sure there's people watching this who are like concerned about Israel, think Israel does bad things. If you're anti-Israel, you're pro that. You can't pretend that you're not pro that, because the anti-Israel solution, the only solution that Hamas and Hezbollah will accept without continuing the violence, is the elimination of Israel and the ethnic cleansing or genocide of not just Jews, but Jews, Christians, and Druze from the land that is currently called Israel. And then who's left in charge? Like, who do you think is going to rule? After you get rid of the Jews and the Christians and the Druze, and they'll leave a few Christians behind, right? They always leave a few Christians behind. After you get rid of all those people from Israel, and then you get your so-called Palestinians who are Egyptians and Syrians or whatever flooding in, right? Who runs the country? You think there's going to be a democracy? There hasn't been a vote in Gaza or the West Bank since 2006. A national vote, a countrywide vote. So, and I'm just using that as an example, right? They don't talk about the Cambodian scam compounds, the Myanmar scam compounds, the Laos scam compounds. They don't talk about the 300,000 slaves. They don't talk about the Indonesian genocide of the Papuans in West Papua. They don't talk about the conflict in southern Thailand. I'm completely on the side of the Thai government, by the way. But you could argue free Patni is a stronger case than free Palestine, right? I'm on the side of the Philippine government against the Muslim insurgency in the island of Mindanao. But why aren't they talking about the insurgencies there? Why aren't they talking about these conflicts? So there's this propaganda that just it was what Sachs said in his clip, that they put words together. There's the left strategy is just keep throwing words out there and then see which ones stick. It's A/B split testing. We're going to try this slogan. If people like it, we'll do it again. If people don't like it, we could try two slogans. Whichever one people like, we'll say more. And they keep testing slogans until you end up with, like, does anybody realize how stupid defund the police is? I was a quasi journalist for West Boca News in West Boca Raton, Florida, and there was a protest against the George Floyd type protest. Somebody's holding up a sign that said defund the police. I says, all right, so I'm driving down the road and I see a car and it looks like a drunk driver. Who do I call? I call 911. Who answers the phone? Who do they send? You want to defund the police? Who's going to deal with the drunk drivers? Right? I hear my neighbor beating his wife. Right? I see my neighbor beating his wife. Right? They've been fighting. I hear the screaming. I call 911. Who are they going to send? Oh, a social worker? You ever talk to a social worker? Social worker wants a cop with her. The problem is religious fundamentalist extremists. That's true with Islam. That's true with Zionists. That's true with the. Why is it true with Zionists? What does that mean? So I want to be clear about this, okay? Google Video Man referred to Zionists as fundamentalist extremists. Now, I'm a Zionist. I believe Israel should exist. I believe in there being a homeland for the Jewish people. I don't want to live there, right? I'm not a true Zionist in the what they mean by Zionist, um, but I'm a Zionist. So does anyone watching this think I'm a religious fundamentalist extremist? Right? This is Google Video Man has been captured by the left-wing propaganda machine into believing that billionaires should somehow have their money taken to fund poor people, even though they never fucking give the money to the poor people, who can't answer the California high-speed rail problem other than to say we should become China, which is fucking batshit crazy. I'm actually happy you're here in the chat because you're fucking entertaining as hell. Zionists are not religious fundamentalist extremists. A lot of Israelis are secular. Secular, meaning they're not particularly religious, right? I eat one of my favorite. It's funny. So I'm not religious, right? But my daughters had bat mitzvahs. I was bar mitzvahed. They'd have weddings or whatever. One of the most popular like hors d'oeuvres at a non-religious Jewish event is like bacon wrapped shrimp dipped in cheese. Maybe the dipped in cheese is going too far, but it's like extremely non-kosher. Okay, you can be not religious. You can be not extreme. You can be not fundamentalist, and you still believe that Jews should have a country. They've had a country for 78 years. They've done pretty fucking well with it. You look at what was there before they got there, and you look at what they're now, and then you look at all the countries around and say, boy, all those countries started in about the same place. They usually had more than Israel, than the land that Israel had. And Israel's got like a first world GDP, high tech, great medical care, great hospitals, Arab Muslims and Jews working together in the hospitals, all kinds of great stuff going on in Israel. What the fuck have the Palestinians done with their land? What have the Egyptians done? What have the Syrians done? What have the Lebanese done? Where's the country that's an example of better than what Jews have done in Israel? I don't see any Buddhist bombing places. I think that India bombs Pakistan once in a while. I think there's some other extremism, but just this point that like the idea of labeling Zionism as a religious fundamentalist extreme. Like, have you been to Israel? I haven't been to Israel. That's the funniest thing. Like, I'm pro-Israel. I've never been. I don't even have a desire to go. I'm like starting to think I probably should go at some point, but like, I don't have a particularly strong desire to go to Israel. I think there might even be nonstop flights from where I live. Certainly from Phuket, there's nonstop flights. And I'd like, that's not on my list. I've been to Istanbul and I haven't been to Israel. I've only been in the airports, but I've been in United Arab Emirates twice. I've been to Europe. I've been all over Asia. No desire to go. But to say that, like, because I believe that, like, there's 57 Muslim countries. I don't know how many Christian countries. Why can't Jews have a country? Why is that religious fundamentalist extremism? I want to thank you again, Google Video Man, for giving me stuff to talk about because you're completely insane, but it's hilarious to entertain it. If your religion forbids bacon, you need to convert. Well, my religion forbids bacon, but my religion doesn't ban me from the religion if I don't follow the religion. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. I think I've rambled too long. I just want to encourage people. You're going to hear the endless propaganda. The Elon bashing seems endless. The Elon derangement syndrome that, like, you kind of wonder, like, what are they going to do? So I'm going to talk about this. What are they going to do in like 2026? They're going to bash Trump, but 2028 he's not going to be on the ballot. So it's going to be Vance or Rubio probably. So one of them has to become evil, right? So do they still make? Is it still about Elon? Like, how do they decide who the bad guy is? Like, and basically and they've done this before, right? But anybody who runs is like the great Satan. And what I'm predicting is, let's suppose we're lucky and let's say it's Vance. Vance wins the election and saves America from these fucking idiots for another 4 years. I think 2 years into Vance's presidency, they're going to start saying, why can't he be more like Trump? Because they do it with every one of them. Why can't Trump be more like Bush? Why couldn't Bush be more like Reagan? They do it every fucking time. All right. So, I'm in Thailand. I got my ballot. I'm voting in the Democratic primary. Believe it or not, I'm registered Democrat. Haven't changed registration yet. Not really going to change registration. The county that I vote in is Blue County, so whoever wins the primary is the effective winner of the election. So it's more important to be. I'm registered in Palm Beach County, so it's more important to vote Democrat than it is to vote in a Republican primary. But I vote even from here. They make it viable to vote. Soldiers can vote when they're overseas. Expats can vote when they're overseas. Um, Trump is not going to be. Isn't Trump over 80 already? Um, so please vote in the 2026 election. I think it matters less. I think the Republicans will my political predictions are awful, but I think Republicans will hold the Senate and they'll probably lose the House. We'll see. I don't think that matters very much. The 2028 election is the one that matters. And Democrats will cheat as much as always, if not more. Republicans will probably cheat some too. And hopefully Elon and his machine and the Palantir machine, they can figure out how to, effectively. I think that the Republicans are going to have more access to AI to help them win the election. Palantir's all in Republican. Andurill's all in Republican. Elon's all in everything. Anthropic's going to be on the side of the Democrats. Not sure where Sam Altman's going to be. But by the time we get to 2028, SpaceX will have the best AI. And they will work with Palantir and they will do what they can. I don't think the SAVE Act is going to get passed. I just think that and I don't know if the Supreme Court would hold it up if it did. It's really, really unfortunate what's going on in America, but hopefully, Vance or Rubio can save us for another 4 years, and by the end of that 4 years, AI will have made everything irrelevant. I gave you things to think about. Sam Altman will be on the side of who guarantees to fund him. I think they're both funding him. All right. Thanks everybody so much. Sorry for the nose. I don't know why this happens to me when I go live. It happens to me when I edit on my edited videos too. I just edit it out. Well, mine's not a mail-in ballot exactly, but I think that there are reasonable exceptions for mail-in ballots, like you're overseas or you're in the military, and then there's unreasonable exceptions for mail-in ballots, and I don't know enough to have that conversation effectively. So thanks everybody so much for watching. Thank you to Mark for moderating the chat. Thank you to GrokDex for supporting the channel, and thanks everybody else for participating in the chat and for watching the video. Bye, y'all.